The grandfather clock in the corner of the dining room chimes 7 times as I hurry up the walkway to the imposing colonial on Maple Hollow Lane. Snow crunches beneath my boots, and my breath forms little clouds in the December air. I'm late again, and clutching a small wooden jewelry box I carved myself. A peace offering of sorts. Samantha! There you are, sweetheart. Grandpa Thomas wraps me in a bear hug the moment I step inside. His silver hair is combed neatly to one side, and the familiar scent of his aftershave wraps around me like a second embrace. How do you like your house? Is everything to your liking? The room falls silent. Dad's fork clatters against his plate. Tracy, my stepmother, freezes mid-pour, wine teetering dangerously close to the rim of her glass. My house? The words stick in my throat like poorly chewed food. Grandpa Thomas's smile wavers. Deep lines form between his brows as his gaze shifts from me to Dad, then back. The house on Sycamore, the one I wired the money for last month. Dad rises quickly, napkin falling forgotten to the floor. Dad, we should discuss this later. Samantha just arrived, and the roast will get cold. I notice Tracy's hand trembling as she sets down the wine bottle. My half-sister Lily blinks owlishly, confusion written across her face. She doesn't know either. My stomach plummets. Something is very wrong. The grand dining room with its crystal chandelier and polished mahogany table suddenly feels like a stage set, and I'm the only one who didn't get the script. I think of my childhood, squeezed into the converted attic while Lily sprawled in her princess bedroom downstairs. My mother died bringing me into this world, and Tracy arrived when I was 4, already pregnant with Lily. That's when the pattern started. Lily at the center, me orbiting the edges. There's no money left for you, Dad had said when I got accepted to architecture school. I remember his expression, not regret, just mild inconvenience at having to deliver the news. I worked night shifts at Joe's Diner for 3 years, drafting building plans on napkins during slow hours. My studio apartment barely fits my bed and drafting table. The invitation to Christmas dinner had seemed like progress, a chance to finally belong. How wrong I was. Tracy clears her throat. Sam, tell everyone about your little drawing class. Didn't you say you're teaching now? Her obvious deflection heats my cheeks, but for once, I don't shrink away. Actually, I'd like to know what Grandpa means. Grandpa Thomas stands, hands flat on the table. I wired $480,000 for a house on Sycamore Street. Richard said it was for Samantha, a graduation gift. His voice cuts through the room like a steel blade. But clearly, my granddaughter knows nothing about it. Dad's laugh sounds forced. It's a temporary arrangement. We're managing the property until Samantha finishes school. It's complicated, Dad. Then uncomplicate it, Grandpa says. My eyes drift to the wall of family photos, vacations, birthdays, graduations. I notice now what I've always suspected. I'm missing from most of them. The few where I appear were taken during Grandpa's visits. You've been using me, I whisper, the truth crystallizing. You only invited me to family events when Grandpa was coming. Dad doesn't deny it. Tracy suddenly finds her dessert spoon fascinating. The money was for Samantha, Grandpa Thomas says, voice hardening. Not for you to buy that monstrosity of an SUV or for Lily's horse riding lessons. I see it all now, Dad, manipulating Grandpa for money while keeping me at arm's length. Tracy climbing the social ladder on family wealth. Only Grandpa Thomas, despite living in Denver, has shown me genuine love. Pack your things, Samantha. You're coming to Denver with me. Grandpa's words fall like a judgment. Dad, don't be dramatic. We're still family. Dad's voice carries a threat beneath the plea. I stand quietly, looking at the family photos without me. 3 smiling faces where there should be 4. The missing piece that never quite fit. I'll get my coat, I say, voice steadier than I feel. Upstairs, I pause at Lily's door, her room 3 times the size of my childhood attic. I don't hate her. She's as much a pawn as I am, just one with better benefits. When I return downstairs, Grandpa Thomas is waiting by the door, car keys in hand. Dad is red-faced, whispering furiously. Tracy dabs at non-existent tears. Ready? Grandpa asks. I nod, clutching my small wooden box, the gift I made that nobody will receive. The handcrafted maple lid took me weeks to carve with delicate snowflake patterns that reminded me of winters spent building snowmen with Grandpa Thomas, before Dad deemed me too old for childish activities. Outside, the December wind bites at my cheeks, but it feels cleansing, refreshing. The Christmas lights strung along the eaves of the house cast colorful reflections in the snow. Another perfect facade. Your mother would be proud of you, Grandpa Thomas says quietly as we crunch toward his car. She never let anyone walk all over her either. The mention of my mother sends warmth through my chest. I have only photographs and stories, but in this moment, I feel connected to her strength. Grandpa opens the passenger door for me, then pauses. We can fight this, you know. That money is legally yours. I consider his words, the years of exclusion, the carefully constructed lies, my journal entries full of hope when they suddenly started inviting me to family dinners. All a charade for Grandpa's benefit. Some battles aren't worth the cost, I say finally. As we drive away from Maple Hollow Lane, I don't look back. Some families aren't worth fighting for. But as Grandpa's hand briefly squeezes mine, I realize some definitely are. 3 days later, after careful arrangements, the bank statements spread across Thomas's granite kitchen island tell a story more painful than any novel I've ever read. Each page reveals another layer of deception, another moment my father stole from me. My hands shake as I smooth out the wire transfer documentation. There it is, Thomas says, his finger tapping on the memo line. Samantha Carter home purchase. I stare at the words until they blur. Nearly $500,000, earmarked with my name, sent from my grandfather's account to my father's. Money I never saw. A house I never lived in. Look at this. Thomas slides a folder of printed emails across the counter. Richard claiming to be acting on your behalf. Each email makes my stomach tighten. My father's casual tone discussing Samantha's house and what's best for her future, while systematically stealing my inheritance. I flip through property records, showing Tracy listed as the sole owner of the home on Sycamore Street. And this? Thomas says, voice hardening as he reveals a power of attorney document. This signature. Is it yours? The scrawl that's supposed to be my name looks nothing like my handwriting. No, I whisper. I never signed this. Thomas nods once, like he expected this answer. Forged. That's a federal offense. The Denver skyline glitters through the wall of windows in his condo, indifferent to the collapse of my family illusions. I've been here 3 days since Christmas dinner, and each hour brings new horrors. Thomas opens his laptop. There's more. I had my accountant pull these records. The spreadsheet on screen shows dozens of withdrawals from an account labeled Samantha's Trust. Money for Lily's private school tuition. Money for family vacations to Europe. Money for Tracy's designer wardrobe. Your college fund, Thomas explains, voice tight with anger. I established it when you were born. It should have had nearly $300,000 by the time you turned 18. Richard emptied it years ago. I think of my cramped studio apartment, the night shifts at the diner, the student loans crushing me with debt. All while my college fund paid for Lily's horseback riding lessons and Tracy's spa memberships. There's this too. Thomas continues, pulling up more documents. Your mother's inheritance. It wasn't much, but she wanted you to have it. I never knew my mother left me anything. The small inheritance, $42,000, had been diverted to renovations on the main bathroom in their house. I remember Tracy bragging about the Italian marble and heated floors, while I showered in my apartment where the hot water lasted 3 minutes. Thomas clicks through to another screen. A credit card in your name. Current balance, $23,000. My credit score. My financial future. My identity. All stolen by people who were supposed to protect me. The tax implications alone. Thomas shakes his head, explaining how gift money reported in my name means I could owe taxes on funds I never received. I press my palms against my eyes, trying to process the scale of betrayal. How could they do this? Richard orchestrated everything, Thomas says, his voice hollow. My own son. He's been systematically abusing your finances for years. And Tracy? An enabler. She deliberately kept you separated from family events unless I was visiting. Created a narrative that you were disinterested, antisocial. Antisocial. And Lily? I ask, thinking of my half-sister who benefited from everything stolen from me. An unwitting beneficiary. Raised to expect everything without questioning where it came from. Thomas's expression softens. She's a victim too, in a different way. I walk to the window, pressing my forehead against the cool glass. Below, Denver continues its evening routine, cars flowing like blood cells through the city's veins. What happens now? I ask. Richard could face legal consequences for fraud and identity theft. Tracy's social standing would collapse if this became public. Your credit score is in shambles, which could impact your career in architecture. Thomas sighs. And they're threatening to contest any financial support I give you directly. The stakes feel overwhelming. My future, my career, my family, all hanging by threads I never knew were so fragile. I found something while you were sleeping, Thomas says, retrieving a portfolio from his office. Inside are childhood sketches, buildings I designed when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, crude drawings of towers and bridges, houses with elaborate floor plans. You kept these? I ask, throat tight. I always knew you were the builder in the family, he says quietly. Not Richard with his get-rich-quick schemes. Not Lily with her marketing degree. You. We stand together at the window, looking at the Denver skyline, buildings reaching toward the clouds, structures someone once imagined and then brought to life. Something shifts inside me, a weight lifting, a decision forming. I'm done seeking validation from people who never valued me. Done trying to earn love that should have been freely given. That night, I sleep peacefully for the first time in years. No grinding teeth, no anxiety dreams, just rest. Morning brings clarity and allies. Thomas introduces me to the dean of a university architecture program. His lawyer friend Morgan begins investigating the fraud and identity theft. At lunch, I meet Evan, a classmate who offers friendship without the hidden agendas I've grown accustomed to. I need someone part-time at the development firm. Thomas mentions casually over coffee, someone who understands both design and business. Interested? By evening, I've met a study group that accepts me immediately, valuing my talent without questioning whether I belong. The next morning brings the hardest step, filing a police report against my own father. The officer takes my statement matter-of-factly, explaining the process of investigating identity theft. It's better to freeze your credit immediately, she advises. Morgan helps me complete the paperwork, securing my financial future from further exploitation. The protective measures feel like armor after years of vulnerability. My phone buzzes continuously throughout the day. Richard's frantic voicemails pile up. How could you do this to family? After everything we've done for you. You're making a terrible mistake. Tracy takes to social media, posting about ungrateful children and family loyalty, without naming me directly. Her friends comment with sympathy emojis, unaware they're supporting someone who helped steal my inheritance. I block their numbers one by one. Richard, Tracy. Even Lily, whose confused texts show she still doesn't understand what her parents did. The silence that follows feels like the first clean breath after years of drowning. Thomas finds me on the balcony that evening. It's just the beginning, he warns. They won't give up easily. I know, I say, watching the city lights come alive as dusk settles over Denver. But neither will I. For the first time in my life, I'm fighting for myself instead of for their approval. And though the cost is high, the family I thought I had is gone forever. I finally understand what Thomas meant about being the builder in the family. Some things need to be torn down before you can build something better. The persistent knocking at Thomas's development office door turns aggressive, rattling the frosted glass panel. I glance up from my sketch as Evan places a protective hand on my shoulder. I know she's in there. Richard's voice booms through the door. Samantha, this has gone far enough. My pencil snaps between my fingers. 2 weeks since Christmas, and they won't stop. Yesterday, my psychology professor pulled me aside after class, concern etched on her face. Your mother called about a family emergency, she'd said. Is everything all right? Tracy isn't my mother, and there was no emergency, just another tactic to disrupt my life. Thomas stands, shoulders squared. Stay here, he tells me, then opens the door just enough to block Richard's view. This is a place of business, Thomas says, his voice steady. If you want to speak with my granddaughter, make an appointment. Don't lecture me about family, Richard snarls. Extended family is calling us daily, telling us to fix this. Even Aunt Marjorie thinks Samantha needs to make peace. Thomas doesn't budge. Peace requires honesty, Richard, something you seem unfamiliar with. I focus on my breathing in for 4 counts, out for 6, while they argue. My phone buzzes with notifications, more tearful Instagram videos from Lily about our family being torn apart. The comments are filled with sympathy for her. Strangers condemning me without knowing the truth. Have you seen what they've been posting about your development company? Richard's voice drops to a threatening whisper. Anonymous reviews claiming substandard materials, delayed timelines. That could hurt your reputation, Dad. My stomach churns. They're targeting Thomas now because of me. When the door finally closes, Thomas returns, his face flushed but composed. Well, he says, attempting a smile. That was invigorating. They're writing fake reviews about your business, I say, the guilt immediate and crushing. Because of me. Thomas waves his hand dismissively. Reviews don't build houses, Samantha. Quality does. He points to my architectural model on the corner of his desk, a design that won department recognition last week. This is what matters. Speaking of which, the Wilsons called again. They specifically asked for your input on their residential design. Pride flickers through me, momentarily displacing the anxiety. Really? Really. And Professor Bennett mentioned an architectural internship possibility. Your talent is being recognized. I touch the model gently, a sustainable small home designed with both functionality and beauty in mind. Every weekend hiking trip with Evan has fed into this vision, building my physical and mental resilience while inspiring organic elements in my designs. Your mother would be ashamed. Richard's words echo in my head as I exit my afternoon class 2 days later. He stands waiting, arms crossed, in the middle of the campus pathway. Students slow their pace, watching the confrontation unfold. My heart hammers against my ribs, but I keep walking. 23 years I raised you. He continues, blocking my path. And this is how you repay us? By turning Thomas against me? I didn't turn anyone against you, I reply, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Your actions did that. His face reddens. Your mother would be ashamed of what you're doing to this family. Something shifts inside me, not anger, but clarity. She'd be ashamed. I was invisible for 23 years. The words hang between us. Students have gathered now, forming a protective semicircle behind me. You okay, Sam? Asks Melissa from my study group. Others murmur support. Richard's eyes dart nervously at the audience. This is a private family matter. Then why confront me in public? I counter. When campus security approaches, summoned by someone in the crowd, Richard retreats, pointing a finger at me. This isn't over. But it is over, in ways he doesn't understand yet. Later that evening, Thomas calls with news. I've terminated Richard's partnership extension, he says simply. The paperwork is filed. What does that mean? I ask, curled up on my new apartment sofa, a housewarming gift from Thomas. It means your father no longer has a position at my company. Morgan's cease and desist letter has been delivered to both Richard and Tracy. We've documented every harassment incident thanks to Evan's diligent record keeping. Evan smiles from the kitchen where he's preparing dinner. My study group has created a protective buffer at university events, ensuring I'm never alone when Richard or Tracy might appear. Samantha, Thomas says gently, you were never the problem. Remember that. When the power shift happens, it's swift and merciless. Richard's company position terminated. Tracy forced to seek employment for the first time in years. Lily, unprepared for responsibility, drops out of college when the tuition payment doesn't arrive. Their luxury lifestyle crumbles as financial reality hits. Meanwhile, I focus forward, not backward. My architectural sketches fill portfolios. Journal entries document my growth. Thomas installs security cameras at his home. They're just precautions, he assures me when I express concern. The morning sun warms our faces as Evan and I hike our favorite mountain trail. The physical exertion feels good, cleansing. We reach the summit viewpoint around noon. Beautiful, Evan says, but he's looking at me, not the landscape. Something cracks inside my chest. The tears come without warning, hot and fast. Years of suppressed pain and rejection pouring out in heaving sobs. I still sometimes wish they had loved me, I confess, the words torn from somewhere deep and wounded. How pathetic is that? Evan doesn't offer empty platitudes. They don't know how to love anyone properly, he says instead, honest and clear. Not even themselves. We sit in silence, watching the sun paint the valley below in golden light. A new perspective, quite literally. Back in Denver, Thomas and Morgan are building foundations for future resolution. A quitclaim deed for the Maple Hollow Lane house is being prepared. Thomas updates his will to protect my inheritance. My university submission shows remarkable growth in talent, drawing interest from faculty and local firms alike. The sustainable home concept has merit. My professor notes during review, your technical skills have advanced considerably. I'm building connections without fear of rejection. Now friendships that feel genuine, not conditional. When Tracy calls, her voice is stripped of its usual superiority. We're about to lose everything. She says, desperation evident. Richard is drinking again. Lily won't get out of bed. We need your help with Thomas. The old Samantha would have yielded, desperate for inclusion. The new one doesn't. You only remembered I was family when Grandpa was watching, I reply calmly. Later that evening, a notification arrives the quitclaim deed has been delivered to Richard. I add the final touches to my sketch of a future project, one that will use proceeds from the house sale to build something lasting and meaningful. Thomas looks over my shoulder, his pride evident. You're building more than houses, he says. I nod, understanding the truth of his words. I'm building a life on my own terms, one that can't be stolen or diminished by people who never saw my worth. On Tuesday next week, the morning sun filters through my apartment blinds as Morgan places a stack of legal documents on my kitchen table. Each page represents another brick in the wall I'm building between my past and future. They've been served, Morgan says, tucking a strand of silver-streaked hair behind her ear. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, soften momentarily. Richard looked like he'd seen a ghost when I handed him the papers. I run my fingers over the top document, a formal demand for the transfer of the Sycamore Street house to my name. The rightful owner. Me. Did he say anything? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. Morgan's lips curve into a tight smile. He tried to charm me. Old habits die hard with men like that. She taps a blue folder. These financial records prove the fraud. The authorities have copies now. My phone buzzes. An email from the Credit Restoration Agency confirming they've begun the process of repairing the damage Richard inflicted on my credit score. Another buzz the architecture department, acknowledging receipt of my scholarship application. I'd leveraged my story, turning personal pain into professional purpose. Professor Jenkins had encouraged it. Your experience shapes your perspective. Use it. Samantha? Morgan's voice pulls me back. Are you ready for what comes next? Richard won't go down without a fight. The question hangs in the air like smoke. Am I ready? 6 months ago, I couldn't even make eye contact with my father across the dinner table. Now I'm taking back what's mine. I'm ready. The battle begins sooner than expected. By afternoon, Grandpa Thomas calls, his voice tight with controlled anger. Richard's telling everyone I'm senile, he says. Claims I don't remember what the money was for, that you're manipulating me. The hurt in his voice stabs at my chest. We knew this was coming, I remind him, and myself. Dr. Harlow is expecting you tomorrow for the cognitive assessment. I shouldn't need to prove I'm of sound mind to my own son. The weariness in his voice breaks my heart. I know, Grandpa. I'm sorry. Don't apologize for standing up for yourself, sweetheart. After we hang up, my phone floods with notifications. Tracy has contacted the local news station about elder abuse in our family. My stomach clenches as I scroll through the social media posts she's tagged me in, painting me as the villain. The university campus offers no sanctuary. I'm halfway through my advanced structural design class when Lily appears in the doorway, face streaked with tears, drawing every eye in the room. How could you make us homeless? She wails. The performance worthy of an award. Dad says we'll lose everything because of you. Professor Jenkins stands. Campus security, please. Her voice brooks no argument as she points to the emergency call button by the door. Later, Evan walks me to my car, the evening sky deepening to indigo above us. Your sister has quite the flair for drama, he comments, scanning the parking lot for any unwelcome visitors. Half-sister, I correct automatically. And yes, she learned from the best. I check my phone, 3 voicemails from extended family members I barely know, all pressuring me to drop the case, to think about how this is affecting Thomas. Evan nods toward my screen. More flying monkeys? The whole circus. I slip my phone into my pocket. Richard and Tracy have everyone convinced I'm destroying the family for money. What are you going to do? The question stops me. What am I doing? Fighting a battle that seems to grow larger each day? Sacrificing my peace for justice? I'm going to class, I say finally. I'm going to focus on the design competition. I'm going to live my life. Evan smiles. They hate that most of all, you know, when they can't make you react. The next morning brings a text from an unknown number. Drop the case or Thomas's business irregularities from 2016 go public. The threat turns my blood cold. But I forward it to Morgan without responding. Another piece of evidence. In the design studio, Professor Jenkins reviews my latest work, her fingers tracing the lines of my sustainable housing concept. "You're creating safety," she observes. "Not just shelter, but sanctuary." The comment stops me. I hadn't consciously intended that, but looking at my design, the protective courtyards, the transparent walls that still maintain privacy, the multiple exit points, I recognize the truth in her words. "My architecture reflects my journey," I admit quietly. She nods. "Healthy boundaries aren't walls but foundations. Your design shows that beautifully." Later, Evan peers over my shoulder as I refine the concept. "You don't design to impress but to protect," he says. "That's rare." I incorporate more open spaces, more transparency. The light flows through my design like truth through darkness. Morgan calls that evening. Richard's accusations triggered a full financial investigation into him. She says, satisfaction evident in her voice. His attempt to discredit Thomas backfired spectacularly. The tables turn quickly after that. Tracy's social media campaign gains negative attention when her friends begin questioning her version of events. Lily's university status is revoked following her disruptive behavior and harassment. Their desperate attempt to access Thomas's medical records is discovered by hospital security. When Richard and Tracy try to rally the extended family against us, the unified front crumbles as relatives begin to see through their manipulation. The local business community issues statements supporting Thomas. The university dean publicly praises my architectural talent during a department showcase. Tracy's friends distance themselves, uncomfortable with her increasingly frantic posts. Professional associations deny Richard's membership renewals as whispers of fraud circulate. They're imploding. Evan observes as we watch Richard and Tracy argue publicly at a community fundraiser, their masks slipping to reveal the ugliness beneath. "Look at them, they can't even maintain the facade anymore." Thomas's business partners issue a formal statement of support. Evan organizes a student petition against harassment on campus. Morgan successfully files a restraining order against Richard and Tracy. My department showcases my work, and members of the Denver development community offer mentorship. The final blow comes when Richard faces potential fraud charges for misappropriating not just Thomas's money, but funds from several investors. Tracy's carefully cultivated social standing collapses. Lily is forced to get a part-time job for the first time in her life, posting angry tirades about her toxic parents who lied to everyone. The foreclosure notice arrives at the luxury home on Maple Hollow Lane the same day I learn my design has been selected for a sustainable housing initiative. The symmetry feels like poetry. That evening, Grandpa Thomas and I sit on his porch, watching the sunset paint the Denver skyline gold. He raises his coffee mug in a toast. "To foundations," he says, "not facades." I clink my mug against his. "To truth." Behind us, my architectural models catch the fading light structures built not to impress but to endure. Just like me. On Monday, my phone buzzed with Tracy's number for the 4th time today. I let it go to voicemail again, watching the notification appear while I sketch facade modifications for my university competition entry. The timestamp reads, 7:48 p.m. "Samantha, it's Tracy. Your father's in the hospital. The doctors say it might be his heart, he might not make it. Please call me back. Even after everything, he's still your father." I set my pencil down, noting the tremor in my hand. The doctors said no such thing. Morgan confirmed Richard was admitted for stress-induced exhaustion after the settlement papers arrived yesterday. Classic manipulation. A knock at the door interrupts my thoughts. Through the peephole, I see Lily standing on my apartment doorstep, her eyes red-rimmed, hands clutching her designer purse like a life preserver. "What are you doing here?" I ask through the crack in the door, chain still latched. "Sam, please." Her voice breaks. "Dad's in the hospital. Don't you care at all?" The manipulation reaches all the way down to the youngest branch of the family tree. I open the door but block the entrance. "How did you find my address?" "Does it matter? Our family is falling apart. There's an email chain with all the relatives talking about Christian forgiveness. Even Pastor Williams called asking if you'll talk to Dad." "Ah." I almost laugh. "Pastor Williams from the church? Dad donated that new wing to last year? The one we only attended when Grandpa visited?" "You're being cruel." Lily's voice hardens, her well-rehearsed lines hitting their marks. "Dad might die thinking you hate him." I don't hate him, Lily. I just finally see him clearly." The stress makes my chest tighten uncomfortably. I've been having these spells since the confrontation at Christmas. Thomas noticed one yesterday, worry lines deepening around his eyes as he watched me press a hand against my sternum. Lily leaves eventually, but the onslaught continues. Richard's lawyer calls the next morning while I'm revising my competition drawings. Miss Carter, I'm Lawrence Myers representing your father. I have a settlement offer that could make this whole unfortunate situation go away. His voice carries the smooth confidence of someone accustomed to cleaning up wealthy clients' messes. I already have, Morgan, thank you. I hang up, then silence my phone when it immediately rings again. Later, my apartment buzzer sounds. The church pastor stands at the entrance, Bible in hand, talking about prodigal children and Christian forgiveness. I politely decline his counsel. The next day, Tracy calls again. We're contesting Thomas's will. You've poisoned him against his own son, his flesh and blood. Morgan assures me they have no legal standing, but the noise of it all, the barrage of accusations and guilt-inducing tactics creates a fog around me. I miss 2 days of classes. My competition deadline looms while family chaos swirls. Even Evan's parents have started asking questions about his involvement with our troubled family situation. Old insecurities rise like ghosts. Am I overreacting? Should I just forgive and forget to make the noise stop? Then Thomas has a minor heart episode. The doctor calls it stress-induced angina. Nothing serious, but enough to frighten me. I sit beside his hospital bed, watching his weathered face in repose, seeing the toll of Richard's betrayal on the man who never gave up on either of us. I'm calling off the lawsuit, I whisper, holding his hand. It's not worth your health. Thomas's eyes flutter open. Don't you dare. We finish what we started. The determination in his voice steadies me. I return to my drafting table that night with renewed focus, working until dawn breaks over the city skyline. 2 days later, it happens. The notarized quitclaim deed arrives via courier while Thomas and I share breakfast. My hands shake as I read the document, confirming what Morgan promised. The house on Maple Hollow Lane, officially transferred to my name. We did it, I whisper, hardly believing the paper in my hands. Thomas smiles, tension visibly falling from his shoulders. Morgan came through. That afternoon, Morgan arrives with a thick folder. He spreads documents across Thomas's dining table, explaining the leverage that brought Richard to heel. I presented him with the complete financial fraud timeline. Morgan says, his meticulous nature evident in the color-coded tabs. The evidence would have been sufficient for criminal charges, but we held that as our bargaining chip. The property transfer represents partial financial restitution. He points to a document with the university letterhead. Your architecture scholarship is now secure, contingent on the boundaries we've established. The no-contact order is legally binding. They can't approach you, Thomas, or the university campus. I study the documentation of Tracy's social media posts, Lily's disruptive campus visits, and Richard's manipulative voicemails, all preserved and cataloged. What happens to them now? I ask. Morgan adjusts his glasses. Richard's been removed from his professional organizations pending ethics investigations. Tracy's social connections are unraveling as the truth emerges. The community stands firmly behind you and Thomas. That evening, my phone rings with a university number. My design has won the competition. Thomas recovers enough to attend the award ceremony, proudly watching as I accept the recognition that will launch my career. The next day, I list the house on Maple Hollow Lane with a reputable realtor Thomas recommends. The proceeds are already designated, part for my education, part for a sustainable housing project I've designed for my senior thesis. Are you offering any support to Richard's family? The realtor asks cautiously. No, I answer, my voice firm but not bitter. News filters in through mutual acquaintances. Richard and Tracy are separating amid their financial collapse. The luxury lifestyle has crumbled completely. Lily has moved in with a friend and taken a retail job. Meanwhile, I focus on my future, not their drama. Thomas introduces me as his protege at industry events, his pride evident to everyone present. 3 weeks later, the realtor calls with news. The house has sold for $520,000, $40,000 more than Richard originally paid. As I hang up, a voicemail notification appears. Lily's number. Sam, it's me. I just wanted to say, I understand now. I'm sorry, really sorry. Her voice sounds smaller, stripped of entitlement. I'm working at the mall now. It's actually not terrible. Eh. I don't call back immediately, but save the message. Thomas mentions retirement, suggesting I might take a larger role in his consulting firm. The seed money for my architecture career now secured, possibilities stretch before me like an open road. The question hangs between us during dinner. What does real family look like now? Neither of us has the answer yet, but for the first time, we have the freedom to discover it together. I glance at Thomas across the table. I'm thinking of calling Lily back. He nods, understanding in his eyes. Family is what we choose to make it. I place my hand over his, feeling the strength in his weathered fingers. I choose this. 2 years later, the morning sun filters through my apartment windows, casting golden light across my drafting table. From here, I can see the Denver mountains rising majestically against the sky, a daily reminder of perspective. I trace my finger along the sustainable housing blueprint spread before me, pride swelling in my chest. 3 months into my internship at Westfield Architectural Solutions, and my designs are already catching attention. My phone buzzes. Evan's name appears on screen, and unlike 6 months ago, no anxiety tightens my chest. Just warmth. Still on for dinner tonight? He asks when I answer. Absolutely. Thomas is bringing that wine he's been raving about. I smile, adding, and I finally perfected my grandmother's lasagna recipe. After we hang up, I return to my design, a community housing project incorporating local materials and solar integration. The firm's sustainability director called it inspired yesterday. 2 years ago, such praise would have left me desperately searching for the hidden criticism. Now, I simply accept it as truth. Later that evening, my apartment fills with laughter and conversation. Thomas sits at the head of my dining table, silver hair catching the candlelight as he debates architectural theory with my study group. Evan helps in the kitchen, our movements around each other comfortable and respectful. No pushing, no demanding. Just partnership. So Samantha, my classmate Jordan asks between bites of lasagna, what's your family background? You never talk about where you grew up. The question hangs in the air. Once, it would have frozen me with shame and rehearsed lies. Now, I simply smile. I'm building my family now, I say, gesturing around the table. Some family you're born to, some you choose along the way. Thomas catches my eye, his proud smile saying everything words can't. The proceeds from selling what should have been my house, the one my father and Tracy had kept from me, funded this new life. Thomas's mentorship provided the rest. Connections, guidance, and unwavering support. After dinner, while others help clear dishes, I step onto my small balcony. The city lights below shimmer like earthbound stars. In my journal waiting inside, I wrote this morning, I don't need to earn belonging anymore. 7 words that took 23 years to learn. When Emily, a first-year architecture student, joins me on the balcony, her eyes are rimmed with tears. My parents say I'm wasting my potential. She confesses, voice barely audible above the night breeze. They wanted medicine, not architecture. Sometimes I feel so alone. 2 years ago, I would have shouldered her pain, made it my responsibility to fix. Now, I simply listen, offer resources that helped me, and maintain the boundaries that keep me whole. You can love someone without sacrificing yourself, I tell her. Sometimes the kindest thing is standing firm. Back inside, I notice my phone lighting up with a message. Lily, can we talk someday? I miss you. I consider her words carefully. The old Samantha would have rushed to respond, desperate for any familial connection. The woman I am now types, when you're ready to build something real, I'll be here. The mountains outside my window remind me daily of perspective, how distance reveals the true shape of things. My latest design, featured in last month's Sustainable Architecture Quarterly, sits framed on my wall. The housing project breaks ground next month. My graduation certificate, signed just weeks ago, hangs beside it, Thomas beaming from the front row as I cross the stage. Later, after everyone leaves except Thomas and Evan, we discuss the possibility of a business partnership. My sketchbook lies open on the coffee table, preliminary designs for my own home taking shape on the page. You've come far, Thomas says, his eyes crinkling with pride. I smile, thinking of the journal entry I wrote this morning. Family isn't who you're born to, it's who helps you build your life. For the first time, I truly understand what it means to be visible.